And looks like we're live. And, oops. Are we live? Yes, we are.
Go.
On my story, yes. Hello, 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 hello.
Hello, everybody.
So happy I'm going to start recording now. And we good.
Hello.
Here, I'll take this one. If you need it, let me know. Okay. I'm going here. Hello, everyone. Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. This is the Andre O Show. We are live on the Andre and Soli channel. I'm here with my lovely wife, Soli, and today we will be talking about
Fat acceptance and body positivity. This is a very hot topic, isn't it, Andre?
the fat acceptance and body positivity.
I was just thinking, like, you know, I have this like Instagram platform, right? And it's all about like femininity and like biblical womanhood and homemaking, all that stuff. And there are a few topics that even in that community, quote unquote, there are a few topics that even the conservative, traditional, Christian, feminine, whatever, anti-feminist women, that if you talk about these things, they still,
They don't
they don't like it. They don't like it. They freak out. And this is one of those topics, what we're about to talk about today. So, we're not sitting here like trying to, hurt anybody, but
Right.
hurt any feelings or offend.
Well, there's a reason why we're talking about this. It's because we see it all the time.
Yeah.
Right. I've been wanting to talk about gluttony and about, the health aspect of it. And so today, this is what we're bringing out. We're actually reacting to a Jubilee. I think Jubilee used to be called BuzzFeed, right?
Really?
So, yeah,
I
but
didn't know
Jubilee
that.
they rebranded when they got all the negative hate. So they have this video.
I was wondering what happened to BuzzFeed. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, they're still around. They have like so many different channels and avenues. But one of them rebranded to the most popular one, I think, rebranded to Jubilee. But we're reacting to a video about the fat acceptance movement. What is it called?
This video is called "Can Fat and Fit Influencers Find Common Ground?" And I just wanted to say too that I keep seeing so much the fat acceptance being pushed. Like, I cannot see an ad or anything anymore without, these fat models or actors or whoever. Even in like these fitness, like there is a fat lady on the cover of, what was it, like Sports
Health
Illustrated or
magazine.
Health Magazine or something.
Yeah.
And they're like the first
The first
black fat lady on the Health Magazine, and you're like, it's just so sad how woke people are becoming. It's like,
Well, let's talk about why, a brief intro of why before we get to this video that we're going to react to. The reason why, it's because it's obvious. It should be obvious that fat is not healthy. Having fat in and of itself is not a healthy thing. And for the vast majority of people, I'm talking about like 99.999% of people, you can lose weight simply through your habits, simply through your willpower. And it's that's all it is. It's literally, like, I'm not talking about health in general. I'm talking about specifically weight. You can lose weight because it's healthier to not be fat. And all you have to do is to eat less calories and to move more than you do. It's at the end of the day, like, and I'm not saying that's going to make you like the healthiest. I'm just saying that if you want to lose weight for the sake of health, that's what it is. And so nowadays it's like everyone's pretending that you don't have to actually lose weight in order to be healthier, that you can just be fat and healthy. And those are oxymorons. It's like, you literally cannot, just like, you cannot be an obese person and also be healthy, because your cardiovascular activity matters. Your blood work, it matters.
Do you have a study? Do you have a degree? No, just
Well,
kidding.
you can degree this Just kidding.
No, but it is important because we need to be good stewards of our bodies and we need to set good examples for our children. What we do with our bodies will affect the generations. It's not just, oh, I'm fat and I'm happy with the way I am. It's like, well, your kids, even if you don't have the most problems, your kids are going to have problems and their kids. And if they ever want to break those, it's going to take generations for that cycle to be broken. So it's about being a good steward and it's about having self-control, not everybody is fat simply because they overeat, just that. But overeating and lacking that discipline that you need to stay within a healthy weight range, definitely, is
Yeah,
important.
and then just one last thing before we start the video is one fact that I read to you a couple weeks ago that was something like if you eat it was something crazy like an extra 60 calories a day, just that little 60 calories a day every day over the span of like 2 years, that turns into something it was something crazy. I can't remember the exact numbers, so maybe you can look this up, whoever's listening, but it was something crazy like that is 30 pounds, like 30 pounds of weight gain just by eating that much more every single day. It becomes that. So those little habits, like Sully's saying, over the course of a long period of time, they add up.
And I just want to say too that we should be able to talk about these things. It's so taboo and it's so hard for us to be honest about this topic, but we need to be honest and we need to be truthful, and it is something that needs to be talked about, especially amongst women, because we're the ones that are being hardest hit with this idea of it's healthy if you're fat, it's healthy if you're fat, it's healthy, it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter what weight you are, you're healthy, you're beautiful, you look good, you are good, like and I have, I guess, a heart for, women. Obviously, that's why I like to talk about what I do. And it's just such a shame to see women really, I don't know, incorrectly using this mindset of God loves you and God created you, and so therefore I'm beautiful just the way I am, and it doesn't matter if you take care of yourself, and women get so offended by this topic when this should not be offensive. We should be able to talk about this, be honest, and not let our feelings and emotions dictate how this conversation goes, really. So
have you guys seen it? If you're watching, comment if you've seen the fat acceptance in the advertisements and marketing, because we see it everywhere. Like if there's a gym that's advertising, they put a fat person. If there's a healthy food thing, they put a fat person. If there's a workout routine, fat person. If there's a fitness brand, fat person. It's like Nike, Adidas. There's like fat.
Even
they
just scrolling on Pinterest,
women.
I just saw. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's everywhere. Like everywhere is like. Anyways,
You're not. Yeah.
Let's react to this video. See what these people have to say. It's can fat and fit influencers find common ground? And I'm skipping the intro a little bit.
Can fat and fit influencers find common ground?
So there was another lady, fitness lady, and then this guy who's a fat influencer, and he's also a homosexual.
Well, fat.
So when I think of the word fat influencers, I think of influencers who are either promoting others to be fat in the same sense that fitness influencers promote fitness.
I don't like people that obsess over being fat, just like I don't like people that obsess over fitness. I'm in my own fitness journey and a lot of people like it because I'm not the stereotypical dude.
The misconception.
I like that they included, because I watched a little bit of the intro. And I was like, really? They really chose a fat fitness influencer? But it's like his journey to becoming fit. So he's lost a lot of weight already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's lost a lot of weight.
So his thing is about becoming fit, not just...
Yeah.
And
like change of lifestyle.
That the opposite side has of me is that I have some agenda to keep people fat, to promote obesity, to tell anybody anything about their size.
Step forward if you agree.
I promote healthy standards as an influencer.
Oof.
They're
like, all
they
right.
had to pause. They're like, I'm just gonna step forward, pretend like I do.
I think we need to discuss what healthy means first, because healthy means many different things. So, like, what does health mean to you guys?
For me, I don't focus on diet and weight loss as a tool for health and how I communicate that. I focus on movement and finding movement that works for you, that feels good, and is sustainable in your body. Because ultimately, I think everybody would agree, movement is healthy, exercise is healthy. In the fitness world, and I myself am a yoga instructor, so I kind of straddle both sides.
Can you stop it? So she said she promotes movement, but there was something there she said. Can you go back a little bit? Nope.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah.
Pause it with the.
I think there's an overemphasis on physicality. I think everybody would agree.
Sorry, you're used to doing this.
I just want to hear
I
what.
think we need to discuss, like, what does health mean to you guys?
Okay.
For me, I don't focus on diet and weight loss as a tool for health and how I communicate that. I focus on movement.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because she doesn't focus on diet and weight, right? Why not? Because you're not using diet and you're not using weight, and it's such a cop out. It's basically like anything you do that you want to promote, quote unquote, she's pretending that she's promoting health. She's not really promoting health.
Mm-hmm.
She's promoting loving yourself as you
Yeah.
are, which means staying unhealthy. That's
Which
point
is
blank.
interesting too, because at least from what I have learned and experienced and, heard from the experts, quote unquote, is that what you eat has way, way bigger determination over your health than even how active you are. I mean, obviously being active is healthy and important, but even more important is the food you consume.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, play it.
Yeah.
And finding movement that works for you, that feels good, and is sustainable in your body. Because ultimately,
Is it loud enough?
Yeah, that's good.
I think everybody would agree, movement is healthy, exercise is healthy. In the fitness world, and I myself am a yoga instructor, so I kind of straddle both sides.
Maybe a little louder.
Can you guys hear that?
Oh wow, that's loud. Anyways, it's fine.
I feel like it should be fine.
Yeah, it's
we
fine.
have a good setup. She's a yoga instructor. Okay, can I go?
Yeah.
I think there's an overemphasis on physicality and diet and exercise.
Personally, I'm a fat guy, and I've been tired of being a fat guy. And I've actually been told that my approach to it is a little bit extreme. So, I'll do like 24-hour fasts. I'll do intermediate fasting, liquid diets, things like that. Some people say it's an unhealthy habit. They say like I got an eating disorder, but at the same time, I am seeing results.
Yeah, there was a comment that was like, this guy, he needs help. He probably has an eating disorder. I'm like, I don't understand why people always say that when somebody does something a little bit more extreme like that, they must have something wrong with them.
Yes.
In a case
I hear
like
that
this,
all the time.
because if you are obese, if you are unhealthy and you just want to get it done, that doesn't mean that you are like unhealthily obsessed or that you are making it an idol or anything. Like he is willing to do the crazy things. I don't want to do the crazy things to lose weight.
It's interesting. It's because what's interesting to me is to see people say, "Oh, that's too extreme. You don't eat for 24 hours. That's so extreme. That's so unhealthy." But you're obese. Like that's way more unhealthy.
That's also an extreme.
That's an extreme, and
yeah.
that's so much more unhealthy than not eating for 24 hours, which humans have done for like the entirety of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
They've always fasted, like religiously or just for health. Like humans have always, or because they couldn't
have
eat
food. Yeah,
they fasted. They didn't eat, and then now it's like, oh, you don't eat for 2 hours. That is so like you haven't eaten for 8 hours. Oh my goodness, that is so unhealthy. That is such an extreme point of view or a thing to do, and then they're obese. It's like, no, that's unhealthy and extreme.
Yeah, you had to do probably had to do some extreme overeating and just different things to get to that place. But
Feel like I can run faster, jump higher, walk longer. I
That's
kind of feel
inspiring.
like when I hear the term fat influencer, I'm thinking like an unhealthy standard being set. You know, I just can't get behind being complacent.
I know, I was
Well,
like,
I
he's
want to
good.
say that it doesn't mean complacency, right?
Yes,
So a little bit about me is that I was a 3-sport athlete almost my entire life, went to college and played a sport. And then I decided, I've always been, a big person, and I was able to manipulate my weight because I also wrestled. So I would bulk up for football season, lose for wrestling, and rinse and repeat. Because of that, though, now my approach is really just about making sure that you take care of your total self. So your mind and your body, and also just making sure that you check in with, medical professionals. I work in healthcare, and so I don't tend to take advice from people who are not medical professionals.
Boom. I knew it. I was getting ready to pause it there.
Hello. That's our whole thing. It's like, if you take your advice from the medical professionals who are using science that's 60 years old, that are going to tell you, don't use butter.
Yeah.
Don't
Use
animal fat
canola
is
oil.
bad for you. Canola
Soy
oil.
milk.
Yeah, soy milk.
Animals products
Animals,
are
yeah, exactly.
clogging your arteries.
Protein is unhealthy for you. All these things that they're telling, people, and they trust the experts.
Yeah.
And then when you actually try it out and you try, hey, listen, how come when I eat more meat, I literally feel better, and when I eat less processed food, I feel worse. I mean, I feel better too. And it's like
Freudian slip.
yeah. And then so it's interesting that I think that's the root of the issue. It's like taking care. They always, if you notice what people do, they always muddy the waters. It's always like, okay, well, what do you think is healthy? And they're like, well, I think health is about the total self. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, literally, like, what markers are you going to, well, it's like mental health and like the soul and the mind.
The
It's
medical expert.
yeah, and the medical experts say this and that. It's like, no. Like, if you're going to be healthy, what's your standard? Like, what, for your height, what's a good weight? What weight should you be for your height? That's a very clear standard, right? But people, no, that doesn't apply to me. I should not do that. For a male age, what's your sex, what's your age, and what's your height, right? What should you weigh? That's a good standard. Like that's a good healthy standard. To not that you have to look a certain way because of, your own vanity or whatever, just for health aspect. Like, how can I be, fit? But most people, they muddy the water. Like this guy, he muddied the waters, and then now it's like, no, it's about the total self. Well, we're not talking about mental health.
No.
We're not talking about your total spiritual whatever. No, we're talking about your physical being and your fitness and fatness. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So they always try to muddy the water so that all of a sudden it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
And I would just like to speak up, like, we're all different. Yeah, there are fat influencers out there that have unhealthy lifestyles that share it, but that's their lifestyle.
Okay. I don't know. I'm like trying to choose my words carefully, but she's like, there are fat influencers that have unhealthy lifestyles. If you're fat like that,
You have an unhealthy lifestyle.
Unless you are actively working to lose weight, but then I don't think a lot of these fat influencers are actively trying to lose weight. Like this guy, the other fit influencer, he is fat, but he's trying to lose the weight.
Yes.
He's not sitting there like I love all my, rolls, whatever. But the fat influencers, they are saying that, and they are doing that, and they are saying, I love me just the way I am, and I don't want to change, which means they're still doing the same things that got them to the weight that they are. So you can't tell me that you're promoting a healthy lifestyle just because you do yoga and you move. Food is such a huge part of that. And that's where this whole gluttony conversation comes in, because these, like, we have such trouble giving up our food.
Yeah.
And that's such a huge part of our health, and not just our health, but our the spiritual aspect of having self-control and self-discipline.
So true.
Influencers that are motivational, that are trying to lose weight.
Okay, there she said.
There are influencers out there that just are existing in this world and trying to make it accommodating to themselves and people that look like them.
Which is such a problem.
But
So there are so
see, but say why it's a problem. It's not that you're making it accommodating. It's because it should be uncomfortable. It should not be this thing where it's like, oh well, we should just all like pretend that it's okay that to be that big.
Yeah.
It's not, and it should be uncomfortable for you to see that and say, you know what, I'm not. That doesn't mean I hate myself. That doesn't mean that I think that I'm worse. As in terms of value as a person, it literally just means that this is unhealthy and everyone else can see it. Okay. And it's okay. It's all right. We're not going to sit here and say like, I'm literally a better person morally.
I hate you because you're
right.
fat.
Or that I'm a better person morally because of your weight.
Yeah.
That's not it at all. It's just to say that like everyone can, gluttony happens to be a sin where everyone else can clearly see that that you struggle with that, right? And you can say, I'm going to change that, or I'm not going to change that, but I recognize that it's bad. What they're doing is saying, it's not bad at all. We literally, we're just pretending that it's not.
Yeah. And this is something else that I've wanted to talk about here. Maybe have a dedicated podcast episode to talking about shame and how shame does have a place in society, and we need to bring back shame, because when people feel like there's this sense of shame that they are going to be shamed, and people are going to look down upon XYZ thing, they're not going to do it. So like, for example, sex outside of marriage. If they're having sex outside of marriage, and if society still said that's a shameful thing to do, we don't do that in this society, then they would not be cohabitating before marriage. They would be doing the right things instead of, openly like, oh yeah, we live together. Oh yeah, we have no shame about, doing something that's actually bad. And that's the same thing when it comes to this whole fat acceptance movement. There should be this sense of shame around being obese, because there is that stigma, and our brains correlate that with, you are an unhealthy person, you don't take care of yourself, you let yourself go, you're a glutton. And we need to be honest about these things. We need to stop. We as Christians especially need to stop cowering to the world and going along with these movements that are, honestly, they're crazy.
Yes.
Like, they're actually killing people. And people are living such sick lives because of these movements. Like, this is not good. This is not good at all.
And obesity is a primary factor in heart disease, and literally you just name all the comorbidities. You just name any of them, and obesity is linked to pretty much all of them. So you're right. It is killing people. This movement is killing people.
And I'm tired of seeing women, every time this topic is brought up, like, you can't talk about people's weight. You can't talk about people's weight. And of course, there's a time and a place to talk about different things, different ways, but it still needs to be talked about. Like, we can't keep brushing this under the rug. If we want to be well-rounded Christians and well-rounded people, then we need to be able to talk about this subject. And especially because, like we said, it's becoming so prevalent. It's not just, oh, Americans are fat. It's like, Americans are fat and it's beautiful and it's good and all bodies are beach bodies.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So
people in this world, and to like label them all a certain way, or to put them in a category where they have to perform to make you feel comfortable, is disingenuous. It's not good.
Well, that's what kind of upset me. That's why I started my journey at the end of the day, was because, I was depressed. I lost my job in the midst of COVID, and I'm unhappy with who I am. And then I see someone on social media that's like, it's okay to be who you
See, I feel like he's honest.
Yes, that's exactly. He's seeing it clearly, and he's being honest about his situation and about the world. That's exactly it. Exactly. That was right on point.
Yeah, I feel like to sit there and say, like, to tell yourself that you are healthy at, an obese weight, you are lying to yourself. And you have to do these mental gymnastics to keep you from feeling bad about yourself. I don't think you should feel bad about yourself, but if you are genuinely not happy about something that you can change and that you probably should change, then that's okay to admit. And weight is one of those things, that you can and should, work on if you are unhealthy. And it's okay to want to lose weight. It's okay, obviously to in a healthy way. Anyways.
and I was like, you're telling me that the way I feel is okay, but at the end of the day, I hate how I feel. And so it was kind of out of protest that I started this journey. And I'm damn glad I did. At the end of the day, you're doing a disservice to the people around you that care about you, whether it be close, relatives, society, etc.
Oh, wow.
And to see someone use a platform like
see.
that.
Oh, you know, it's okay. You could play. I was just gonna say, if you guys have
As a fellow
any,
fat kid my entire life,
Oh, sorry.
it just pissed me off.
okay, you gotta go back a little bit. If you guys won't have any questions or comments you want us to read, make sure you put them in the chat box, and then we'll read them at the end of the show.
And I'm damn glad I did. At the end of the day, you're doing a disservice to the people around you that care about you, whether it be close, relatives, society, etc. And to see someone use a platform like that, as a fellow fat kid my entire life, it just pissed me off.
He's so honest. Did you want to say anything about that or no?
I love that. That was what I think anyone should have said to them.
I hear what you're saying, and it's valid.
I can't. I can't. And that's just your truth. Like,
your thoughts and opinions are all valid. Everyone is equally valid.
We're
in here.
all right.
My entire life, I was a fat kid, fat teenager, fat adult, fat. And
so it's her parents'
also,
fault.
I just want to say, like, some people might be offended, like, oh, you're using the word fat, but like these people are literally calling themselves fat. Like, she's just said, I was a fat kid, fat teenager. I'm a fat adult currently. So, anyways, and she says, and that is not my story.
That is not my story, and I see that played out over and over and over again in the world, in art, in TV, in movies, like the sad fat trope. Nobody's gonna want you, and that plays into the way we treat fat people. But that is not everybody's story.
Shallow how.
So I hear that you were sad, you were unhealthy, you were uncomfortable, you were isolated. Like we can all relate to that, but that is not the story of every fat person.
Right? Can you stop it?
That was scary.
Yeah, that's not the story of every fat person, because some fat people, instead of being introspective, they become arrogant and they become set in their ways.
Yeah. I think you have to definitely be introspective about it. I think all of us have to be introspective, to see our flaws and, to overcome them. But anyways.
I am on a journey.
I liked what he said about you're doing a disservice to yourself, your relatives, to society. And that's so true, because at this rate, I think, aren't like most Americans obese?
Yes, you can keep going. I'll look up the stat.
Like, at this rate, most Americans, if not half, at least half of Americans are obese. And like, how do you keep going in a society like that? Like, how do you make that stop? And especially like with how hard they're pushing it and promoting it, it's pretty insane. And like, when does that end,
Oh my. Okay, so actual obesity rate in America right now is 41.9% of obese. That's not overweight. That's obesity.
Okay, wow. That's a lot.
Yes. And actually, you can probably pull it up on there. There's that way people can see it. It's also, it says the prevalence of severe obesity increased from 4.7% to 9.2% from 1999 to March 2020. So it increased. Severe obesity, there's almost twice as many people that are. Yeah. You can blow it up a little bit so people can see it. Yes.
It's so crazy. It's almost like the trans thing. It's so crazy that they're pushing obesity as health. Like Andre literally showed me this like figure. It was like a cartoon, and it was like outlines of women, right?
I don't remember, but yeah.
And they were all like they weren't like slim outlines, they were meant to be like overweight. No, like overweight, like obese. And it was like, all of these slim women are considered obese.
Oh, yes.
Never let anybody tell you that these women aren't healthy. And it's like, obesity is literally not healthy.
Yeah. True.
But that's the narrative that's being pushed. And we should not give into that narrative.
Mm-hmm.
We need to stand against that narrative because it's so out there. It's like saying women can be men and men can be women, and obesity is health, and 2 + 2 = 5. And it's crazy. Crazy. So anyways, back to our fun little video here. I'm excited to see these comments.
Like myself in my skin. And that is something I believe is obtainable through hard work and dedication. I mean, nothing else works, loving yourself, quote unquote, made me eat KFC 3 times a day and gain a lot of weight and turn sedentary. Hating myself encouraged me to be different and encouraged me to change my life. And
man, how awesome is that? That's pretty cool.
That he had that
whole thing, like, that's inspiring.
That mindset switch. He's like, I can't stand the way I am. I'm healthy. I'm a glutton. I'm unhealthy. I'm a glutton. I'm lazy. And then he just was like, you know what? No more.
So you see how it's not about the actual figure, right? Because he's still fat. But what it's about is that mentality of like, I'm working on it. And I'm gonna get to a point where this is no longer a big struggle for me, versus like, oh, I just love yourself, guys. Like, it's actually killing people to do that, because he's gotten better. I haven't seen it before, but he's gotten better, right? He's on the up and up. He's working on himself, whereas most people are just like, nope, that's fine. You could just let yourself go and just as long as you love yourself.
And I love that level of introspection, and I'm always so inspired by people like that were going one way and just were like, nope, and they just turn around and they completely go the other way. And that's what that mindset is really what inspired me in my homemaking recently. And hearing stories of people like a businessman that Andre loves named Alex Hermosi, and hearing how he kind of had that mindset of like, nope, this is the way I'm going to be, and I'm going to change, and I'm going to have the self-control and discipline I need to be the best that I can be. For us as Christians, it's the best I can be for the glory of God. And, for me as a wife, it's for my husband, and it's for my my children and my friends to be a good example. And I think that's another thing that it's about too. It's just like, how can I glorify God the most? And sometimes that means stepping out of our comfort zones. It's not very comfortable all the time when we come face to face with the realizations of our flaws and of our mistakes and of these things. And of course, everybody wants to just go along with the way they are. Like, I'm just happy the way I am. I don't want to change. But we need to allow God to transform us and to clean us out and to help us have the discipline that we need. Like right now, I'm working on losing a little bit of baby weight, and I'm, trying to use self-discipline in a way that I never have before, But to me, it's really important that I exercise and that I exercise this self-discipline in this area, because I do not want it to be something that I end up struggling with for the rest of my life, especially as I have more babies and as I get older, and it's going to be even harder for me to change especially if I let something like that go. And so you just have, it's so good that this guy is introspective. You know, I don't think you necessarily need to like hate yourself, but I mean, the fact that he was like, no, like this is unacceptable. And I think there definitely is a time and a place where you can look at yourself and say, where I'm at, what I'm doing is unacceptable. And I think, you know, that's the place that we get, that brings us to repentance, right? So we look at ourselves and God shows us our sins and we're like, oh my goodness, God, like this is terrible. Like, please forgive me. I can't, like, you know, I am, you know, what is it? Lower than the dirty rags. Like my sin is so bad. And when it comes to these movements of fat acceptance and body positivity, there's none of that. There's none of like, this is bad. This is not honoring to God. And I just see it so much. Like if I ever even broach the subject on my Instagram, I always get feedback from women that just aren't happy that I'm not 100% praising women in all shapes and forms and sizes.
Oh, that's good, Sully.
And it's like, no, and I'm not going to. I'm sorry. And, you know, even if you're commenting and you're saying I've struggled, blah, 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 you know what? I'm not going to validate you. Like that lady said, what you said is valid. But if you're saying the fat acceptance, whatever movement is valid, I'm going to say, no, it's not. That's not valid. That's not God honoring. Okay? That's, anyways.
Okay, I pulled up the
Is it, can
meme.
they see it?
Yes, they can see it on here. Just a reminder that all of these slim women are classified as obese on the BMI scale. Don't let whatever number you are on the BMI scale make you feel bad. Plus, the BMI scale is a poor way of measuring health. So basically, they're just lying to you. Like, they're just lying at this point. It's a lie. They're like, oh, just a reminder that you can't make you feel bad. Something I have to say. Oh, they can't see me.
And those women
I have to say something
slim. Just be honest.
Oh, this is not it.
They're curvy. I'm curvy. I'm not slim.
Yeah, and it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to say, nah, I need to change this. Yeah. It's not okay. Like, you don't have to. There's a spectrum, right? There's like I should change. It's like just a perfect 2020 vision of what's going on, as in like I should change. And then on the far end of that is like, I hate myself. I want to die. Okay. You should go as close as you can as to I should change and I'm going to do something about it. And as far away as you can from I hate myself. I want to, die because of how I look. Like, we're not saying that. What we're saying is, if you see that there's something you must change about yourself, then just accept it. Just accept that and say, this is not healthy. This is not good. This is, like we all have things other than weight gain that we need to work on. Yeah. And so you just say, oh, you know what? I acknowledge that about myself and I'm going to work on it. But it's like, this is glorifying. And that's why I like what this guy is saying. This guy is really great. Yeah. Because he's saying all this stuff.
Yeah. Like this guy is so much more inspirational than seeing a fat person be like, I love the way I am.
As a result, I've influenced thousands of kids younger than me.
That is so inspiring.
Fat shaming is worse than skinny shaming.
They got there quick.
The first one they hesitated a little bit.
They never run that fast in their life. No, just kidding.
Wait, what?
I said they never run that fast in their life.
Oh my God.
It is based off of.
Yeah, but if you look at these commercials and ads and stuff,
you would think that they do it.
Aesthetic, like, oh, you're so skinny. Yeah. I wish I could be like that. I wish I could eat whatever I want and stay skinny. There are these assumptions we have about people in fat bodies that we don't place on thin people, even if they're thin beyond health. And it really...
Not really. Not true. Not true. Whenever someone is skinny, I always hear people say, you should eat more. Why don't you eat a burger?
Yeah.
I always hear that. It's not true. Like, it's just not true.
Yeah. Plus, I don't know. I don't really see very many people that are skinny beyond not like I see obese people, you know. It's way less people are skinny beyond the point of health, you know. And obviously there is an extreme, you know. This isn't about being skinny or whatever. It's about being healthy. That's what it's about. And obese is not healthy.
It ain't healthy.
Literally.
Makes it so that fat people are overlooked, and it creates an environment where it's okay to perpetuate hate and even violence, you know?
Being thin won't limit you from being able to shop where you want to shop. You can walk into a clothing store, get clothes right off the rack.
That also goes back to the whole like society, and that there should be a sense of shame and stigma. It's like, I can't find any clothes that fit me. I'm so big.
Yep.
You know, like
I mean, you should do
that
something
should motivate you to want to like get in shape, instead of saying everybody in society needs to accommodate for me. It's like, we should not need to accommodate for things that are bad. Once again, it's just like the whole trans thing. It's like everybody in society needs to accommodate for me.
Yeah.
And the world
like
needs to start revolving around me.
So listen to this. It's like, instead of them losing weight, they expect the clothes manufacturer, the people that design the clothes, the people that sell the clothes, the stores, the malls, to all cater to them because they're big.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't expect themselves to change their own weight.
Yeah.
That's entitlement. That is true entitlement.
That's a good word. It is entitlement. I mean, everybody, like a lot of the black community deals with that. I mean, it's the same thing. You know, everybody wants to be special, but not special. Everybody wants to be, we are
Catered
the
to.
victims, and you need to normalize our victimicity.
Victimhood.
Our victimhood. And, you know,
Victimicity.
also we still want to be extra special, even once you normalize or accept us into your ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just playing the victim card again, you know, in this instance. And it's like, you're not a victim, you know. You did this to yourself, or, you know, maybe you had a bad example or whatever, trauma, blah, blah, blah. But at this point, you know that you're unhealthy. And so you are, you know, doing this to yourself by staying unhealthy.
Yes, you can play it again.
Sometimes even have excess. You could go up or down the rack. In my experience, those are not my options. I shop online because I wear a size 15 shoe, because I'm 6'2", and I have a very broad body.
The skinny shaming, you know, there is that backhanded compliment. You know, you see that all the time. But when it comes to the fat shaming, you just see more negative out of it. And I just, you know, it's horrible to see.
But being fat is still taboo, believe it or not.
Yeah.
My partner and
Yes,
I'm a gay.
yeah.
And it should be
Yeah.
taboo.
She's
but
like,
but there is also like,
that's why I love the other guy, because the other fat guy that is a fit influencer, he's changing. He's like, he says it so clearly, and he said it to them. He said it to the fat people, and he said it not angry or anything, very direct, but also telling them the truth, and I think in a very good way.
yeah,
I think the girl's kind of like,
yeah.
Man, dating another fat black gay man, and we have gone viral on the internet a couple times.
Yeah.
And you know what some of the comments were? Never seen two fat people together. I get pats on the back for posting a picture at the beach with no shirt on. Why am I being patted on the back for that?
Right.
yeah, exactly. See, we're asking the same questions. Why are you being patted on the back for that?
Yeah.
Why
that's the
are you being patted
problem.
on the back for that? You shouldn't be. You know, everyone is pitying him. All the people that are like, you go. It's like, they know that. You know why they say you go? Because you had the courage, quote unquote, to go and do that. And you had no shame.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. You had no shame in looking that way, and they're literally implying that you should have shame, yet
but
you don't.
Yeah.
So it's like, it really is actually not a compliment.
And there is a ton of skinny shaming. Like I always see, I even hate using these terms, skinny shaming. It's like they're so dumb and made up. But, you know, there's a lot of people now that just totally hate on fitness influencers, and like, oh, all you care about is your aesthetics, all you care about is the way you look. And when it's like, well, maybe I'm sure surely some people just care about aesthetics, but also at least they're trying to promote healthy lifestyles and healthy body weight. So
You step forward.
These guys are like, nope, we do
Well, when I
not
hear fat
agree with
shaming,
this.
skinny shaming, all that stuff, I just think back to like middle school, high school, you know, picking on kids. It's bullying. I believe everyone goes through body dysmorphia. One of my homegirls is a model, and she's always complaining how she doesn't like the way she looks, even though like 99% of all women would probably prefer they looked like her. She hates the way she looks, and she's like, I wish my boobs were bigger. I wish my butt was bigger. I believe, you know, that's the media, that's the entertainment industry, is they have a standard of what, at the end of the day, is desired, I guess, but not everyone's built like Marilyn Monroe.
You said 99% of women would probably want to look like her. That's to me, some of the language that is the problem, is that I'm assuming that she's probably of a thinner body, right, because she's a model, but a lot of women don't. It's okay. Your body you are the standard. You are the model. You are the beauty. Like the fact that we think like that already is still what the problem is, and it's still why, to me, fat shaming is worse than the skinny shaming. Because like even our language, I know people just desire this really thin body. You know, it's like that's the language in the language. When I get negative comments about my relationship with my partner, I kind of like to troll back. If I tweet a picture of us kissing or dancing, people will spew the homophobic slurs and stuff. So I like to then just share more pictures of us kissing and really double down into it and let them know, honey,
he needs to be trans.
We're here to stay.
To be the
girl's
ultimate
not
victim.
going anywhere, you know, and just letting them know that I'm confident in myself. I'm happy, I'm in love, and I'm living my life.
I don't think I've ever been shamed for my body. I was always moving. I was always, you know, I stayed fit my whole life. You know, to be a fitness influencer, you have to have that image, that skinny, fit, toned look. That's really not the case. If you have the knowledge, if you have the passion to want to help people with their fitness journey, it doesn't matter. I highly believe that.
I feel pressure to look a certain way for my followers.
Yo, of course he does.
I think can you pause it?
Yeah, you know,
He's the only honest one. I feel like he's literally the only one that's actually honest. Everyone else is like,
I don't feel pressure to look a certain way for my followers.
Yeah, it's
I doubt it. I mean,
especially if you're a fitness influencer, like, come on. I think you feel, I think we all kind of feel pressure, not for our followers, but for everyone, right? Like, feel a little pressure to look better for my wife, you know, so that I'm a good example for my children. So that I'm a good example for my community and people that look up to me. That kind of thing is like, we all should feel a little pressure, but people are like, no, I should just be as fat as I want to be all the time, forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm a fat kid losing weight, man. You know, I got an expectation to uphold.
You got this,
I get people all the time, haters, that are like, oh, he's gonna quit, crash diet, blah blah blah. But then, you know, there's kids that tell me, you know, you got me out of bed today. Aww. You're the best person on the internet. Like, I love you. If I can motivate someone, one person a day, to do something, to better themselves, I'm gonna do everything in my power to keep myself going. And that means not quitting. And that means looking a certain way, always developing, always growing. And, you know, because if I quit, I'm letting down thousands of people.
Yeah. True. I'll be let down.
I used to feel a lot of pressure, but I think with practice, you get over those pressures, you learn how to deal with it and understand that the pressure is really from yourself. It's internalized. Like.
Well, I think for him, the guy who's the fit guy.
The Asian?
Yeah. He's an example of someone that probably at this point doesn't really have to think about being fit. So he just works out. He, you know what I mean? It's his life now. So he has no pressure to look a certain way because he's just like, this is just who I am now. Kind of like what you were saying earlier. It's like when you become that person, it's like, no, I am this now. It changes from being something that you got to work on to something that, no, this is who we are. This is who we are. Like we work out, we stay healthy, we eat this way. This is who we are. And I think he's at that point, which is probably why he doesn't feel pressure anymore.
Yeah.
You're thinking about what others think of you, when in reality they could care less. They don't even see the little things.
That's exactly it. I think we should stop worrying about what other people think.
But it's so hard. I mean, like, I could say that every day, and
it is.
I still think about what people think. Like,
it is. We all do. But that's something that is a good challenge for all of us. You know, that's something that we need to really just try. And once we get on that road, it's not easy. We're gonna have days where we're just gonna be like, oh, he thinks, I think. But if we can get past that, even just a little bit, it's just gonna make our lives even easier.
I think that I mean, this could be a whole podcast episode in and of itself. I just want to say super quick that I think there is we should to an extent think about what other people think of us. I think that this idea of like, oh, I just literally don't care what anybody thinks of me, because we do need to be aware of our surroundings and what we're saying and what we're doing, because it has an influence on other people. So just as a side note, I do think it is good. You know, we need to be a good example. We need to be a light. We need to speak the truth. And we're not going to compromise that. But at the same time, we do need to be aware of, you know, the way that we're presenting ourselves and the way that we're interacting with people and all of those types of things.
You know, just stop worrying about other people. Worry about yourself.
Worry about yourself.
I also just feel like, you know, like everybody else, this is my account and you are a guest here. You know, I have had to learn to not be that way. So, and for Nick, I understand that, you know, your social media and your journey is very different. Like, I could clearly see how people or your following would have those expectations for you to continue to lose the weight. It's like, okay, well, we joined this guy so that we could join his journey on his weight loss. So we only want to see him doing the weight loss. Like, you better not like plateau or gain. You know, I could definitely see that.
Well, it's a sense of accountability, and it really helps me keep my shit going. Otherwise, I would have dropped out a long time ago.
Well, that's part of it. Like when society has these expectations, a part of it is really accountability.
Yeah.
And we all need accountability.
It's true.
One way or another.
And I don't do like, this is how to do a curl and things like that. I just do like how I feel. I sort of have a self-deprecating outlook on myself and how I feel. And it's sort of like a military style thing. Like, you're trash.
You ain't even trying to play.
You will never be good. Wow. Just give up type thing to myself.
I think that's interesting that you say that, because the content that I post is not just for people. It's mostly for me, and it's part of my own. It's like cathartic to see myself in like sweating, like trying to do a headstand and falling, or looking glam for an event, and everything between. So being authentic and like showing up as I am, whether people like it or not, or expecting it or not, is an exercise in self-love. It helps me accept myself. I was really shy as a kid, and also, you know, overweight or fat. I think the misconception is that I wasn't intelligent and that I was lazy. Like, that's a lot of the bullying I got, right? Yeah, I don't think I dealt with it well. It wasn't until later in life where I started to kind of reject that narrative.
Weight loss.
But see,
I think she still doesn't deal with it well.
She still doesn't, and that's the thing. Like, if, you know, it's one thing to just be obese. Like, this is what we're saying. Like, it's one thing to be obese. Like, she seems like a nice lady. Like, seems like she would probably have a great warm hug, and like you would just laugh when you like have conversations with her and stuff. But the problem is like swinging to that side of the spectrum, like Andre was saying, where you're like self-love and like instead of, you know, changing the things that are wrong, I'm going to accept the things that are wrong and call it self-love, so I can just feel good about myself. And there's nothing wrong inherently with like wanting to feel good about yourself, but you not at the expense of being
reality.
Dishonest. Yeah,
right.
At the expense of reality, honestly. So.
And I just want to say this, that Fancy's Homemaking sent a verse, which is great. It says Philippians 3 verse 19. Their end is destruction. Their God is their belly. And they glory in their shame. with
Yes.
mind set on earthly things.
Yes.
That's
That
great.
is so relevant, not to just this topic of fat shaming, but of so much of fat acceptance, but of so much going on.
Programs are toxic.
Weight loss programs are toxic.
Oh, really? They all said?
Fitness
Cringe.
promoters
Yeah, that
are
is cringe.
promoting these weight loss programs or these diets that aren't working for everyone.
Maybe they
And
have
it's
a
kind
point.
of
I
sad
mean,
to
they
see
have a
because
point, but it's not.
I
Weight
wouldn't
loss
say
diets
cringe.
are not. Is that what it was? That weight loss diets
It's
are
really
toxic, right?
affecting
Weight
people
loss
and, like, the
programs.
way they
yeah.
Weight loss programs are toxic. Well, it's not that the weight loss programs are like there are weight loss programs that are toxic, and there are some that are not, right? Like,
Yeah.
of course, I think that should be more of the answer. I wouldn't. I don't think I would have gone
You
up
wouldn't
there.
have sat. I wouldn't
No.
have either.
Because it's like the whole thing is if you want to lose weight and you have a weight loss program and it achieves that goal, then it's okay. It doesn't have to be an all encompassing like you're gonna fix your health, you're gonna not gonna have this anymore. Da, da, da. It's if your goal is to lose weight and then you do a program that helps you lose weight. If you stick to the program, it's gonna work. I love this guy. I like following him. His name is Stan Efferding. And he was a bodybuilder, and he also was a strongman, and he's like super ripped, right? And what he talks about is compliance is the science. I think that's his saying. Compliance is the science, which is basically saying that as long as you comply, like as long as you follow through, like what's the best, he says, what's the best exercise is the one you do. What's the best diet? The one you stick to. And I love that because it's true. Like if you find something and you stick to it and you get to your goal, that's what matters. And I think most people think that if they go on a weight loss program, that they're going to, oh, like I was feeling so hungry and lethargic. It's like, okay, yeah, but you're not trying to. The whole point is if you're trying to be healthy, then you have to figure something else out, right? But like if you have a goal to lose weight, then you kind of have to stick to the goal. You might get a little bit, like doozy sometimes. You might not have as much energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that can happen to everyone, but it's just an example to say that you have a goal and you stick to it, and it's rough sometimes, and then you get to the goal, and then you figure out, okay, what can I fix and tweak so that it's better for me.
I'm surprised that everybody
fitness
sat
and
down.
health, and it's toxic.
I think, and the focus is always, or it seems to be like, just lose the weight, just lose the weight, just lose the weight, and then you'll be happy and everything will be okay and you'll feel good and you'll fit into that. But it's like, whoa, I can lose all that weight and I could still be miserable.
Personally, in my journey,
It's true, which is kind of something we were talking about yesterday. Like, because somebody on my recent post, I was talking about having self-discipline and, how our lack of self-discipline, can affect so many areas, including weight. And they said something about how, everybody has different reasons why they're overweight. And, and it could be like, depression or whatever. I'm like, okay, but you can still lose the weight. You still might be depressed, but you can still lose the weight, and that means it worked.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I mean, you're less likely to be depressed. Honestly,
You're much less likely,
because obesity and the
And
correlation.
all that.
But anyways,
biggest points is I do not use a scale because goals to me are limitations. And when you hit that goal, you get comfortable, AKA complacent. You're like, oh, I'm gonna lose 10 pounds and then I'm good. And so I don't focus on the weight. I focus on everything else. I focus on, getting out of bed, that routine of going to the gym, that routine of eating healthy, that normal feeling of like a caloric deficit and things like that.
See?
I feel like that's how I would be if I wasn't trying to lose weight quickly.
Well, it's like,
I'm just like, I just want to get it over with.
well, I don't know. If that works for him, it works for him.
Yeah.
It's not something I would do, but
Yeah.
if it works for him, right? And it I don't know, but he says that it does. So
Yeah.
A good way to do it too. I'm a fitness trainer too, and I tell my clients, I'm like, the scale really doesn't tell you much. You're gonna fluctuate. It's water weight. It's a lot to it. You gotta look at yourself in the mirror. You gotta see those physical changes.
Yeah,
I don't
that
even
is
think it's
true.
the physical changes, because I'm gonna be straight up. I probably had body dysmorphia for a little bit. And I would always like check myself in the mirror, you know, like after eating, I would check myself because I wanted to keep a 6-pack.
But you see, I've seen so many of like the bodybuilders say that too, that they think they have body dysmorphia.
That's interesting.
Because they look at themselves in the mirror and they're like, they literally think that they look like trash. And they're literally like ripped, they have muscles, and they think like, I look like trash.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, that is an actual good point that a lot of the woke people have, is that you can have body dysmorphia even if you have if you're fit or skinny, and you can be unhealthy even if you're fit or skinny, right?
Yeah.
But on an overall, like if you are heavy, really heavy or obese, then you need to lose the weight because it's healthier for you, right? So it's like, if that's what we're talking about, then that's what we have to discuss.
Yeah. Also, I do also like the point that Alex Hermosi made in that interview that you told me about, is because a lot of like fat acceptance people, and even like these trainers, maybe, I don't know, but they correlate like, oh, you are doing all these extreme things to try to lose weight. And Alex Hermosi was on the Graham Stephan podcast, and one of Graham Stephan's like sound guys or whatever who works the podcast is fat, and he knows it. And he was talking about how he was trying to lose weight, and he was obsessed with counting calories, and like he was like every single thing he was counting calories,
Every meal, every food.
And Alex is like, so
Yeah.
he's like,
That's
how
normal.
like, aren't you trying to lose weight?
Yeah.
So, you know, and he's like, I just felt like it was like too much. It's like, bro, like you're literally obese. Too much. Like this is literally like a ticking time bomb here.
Yeah. Like it
with
should
your health.
it should sometimes there is a time for that obsession so that you can achieve a goal.
Yeah.
And
there's
be healthier.
definitely a time and a place, but the point is like that's not inherently a bad thing.
Yes.
You know?
That's so
like
true.
this guy, like he talks about how he does these fasts and you know, these diets and whatever, and he's like, I'm trying to lose weight here, guys. Like I'm trying to be healthy.
Yeah, you don't get to that weight by just, you know, eating a tiny bit more or like that. Like it's a long period of time of deep indulgence and probably laziness, you know, not taking care of yourself. And so when you get to that point, you have to do something drastic as well, most likely, to get to a place where it's actually healthy again.
Fitness industry told me that I needed a 6-pack. You hear fitness influencer and like the first thing you think is like weight loss program, selling a course. And I purposely wore this shirt this morning just to see like
just to show
off any extra bias. One thing I noticed about fitness, being in this space for so long, is that just because you're into fitness doesn't mean you're into health.
I
do agree with that.
I told everyone that I dealt with body dysmorphia, and I think in terms of dealing with it, it's just learning that my value is not completely tied to my appearance. There's so many other things that I can see value in myself now. I really do enjoy the autonomy I have over my own health and my own wellness.
Can you pause there? I love that. That was great. I agree with that. It's not that your value is your weight or the way you look. There's so much more to who you are as a person, right? But you can't just say that, oh, I'm obese and that's fine and I'm going to love myself. No. That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Comfort from eating disorders.
Oh, whoa. Everybody's sitting down. Gluttony, hello.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it until a couple years after, but I was tracking like every food. I did track calories, macros. Man, I had my scale and I would bring it like to the dining hall. I would like weigh everything, and it would get to the point where I would either eat before going out, like if I knew my friends were gonna go out to eat, I would eat.
I don't understand why that's bad. Like
it's
this
not
is
bad.
This is the part of what I don't understand. Like, why is that bad? Like, we do that. Well, I don't do that. Andre does that sometimes because he knows when we go out to eat, most likely there's going to be food there that's going to, give him allergies, and he doesn't want to feel that or not be enough protein for the amount of protein that he wants to get in. So I don't know. I think that's one of the flaws in our society, is this idea that like doing those things is inherently bad.
Yeah. And you can see, you're gonna say.
No, you go.
I was gonna say that you can see it in him, right? Like you can see, if you see, like, he's muscular, he's fit. In order to get like that, he had to actually be obsessive for a period of time.
Yeah.
He had to work through some things.
Take testosterone.
No, but he had to actually work really hard for a long period of time and be obsessive and be like meticulous. And I think I just love what you said there. It's like, it's not inherently bad, because once you're fit, now he's like, oh, I don't do that anymore. Well, now he's fit. Now he has to do very little to maintain that body, right? Like he probably has to work out like not as much as he used to. He probably knows like about how much to eat now.
It's just his life.
Right, because it's just who he is now. But before, you had to kind of be very drastic.
Yeah.
So I could measure all the food out, put it into MyFitnessPal, and then go out and not eat with them. Or I would probably just not go out at all.
Food and fitness really took over my life for a few years. I was super, super obsessed with just, getting that goal weight or looking good and everything like that. And I found myself just super depressed. And I, didn't eat the foods I wanted to eat. And I over-exercised, and I wasn't myself. It was just a horrible point in my life, and I had to go see a doctor. I had to get that help. Mentally, I wasn't there. So these things are real. Like, this stuff happens, and people don't reach out enough.
Okay, so I actually want to make this point, which is I've seen on the chat people make all this time, is that people make this point about how you can be fat or fit or whatever, and you can still not be in the right mind space. And it's true, because like the chat has been saying, it's about where you see yourself and where you get your value from, right? If you get your value from Christ and then all things flow from that, then you're like, oh, I want to, look better for my spouse, and I want to be my best self, not for myself. Yeah, for my children, but because, for the glory of God. So if your focus is on that, then it makes everything else like, oh, it doesn't really matter. Like if I look a little worse today than I did, last week, it's not really like a personal thing. I'm not like, oh, like I hate myself, because I know it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but I know that there's a goal to do, so I have to do it as unto the glory of Christ, for Christ, right? So that's, I think, a really great point, which is why even fit people struggle with these things.
Mm-hmm. But like we said, once again, being obese definitely has more risk of you having these mental health, obesity issues.
Yes.
Really restricted my eating. I needed to lose like almost 30 pounds in like 11 days. And I did that. And I stepped on the wrestling mat, and I had absolutely no strength. No. I had no energy, no strength. I got whooped. I got tossed up and down the mat. And then after that, I told myself that I would never do it again. But of course, out of bad habits, I just picked up another bad habit and then began to enjoy binge eating. And then it was like, okay, well, now I'm not restricting anything, and now everything goes.
And how are you now?
Now I'm much better. Therapy, medication.
I don't know if you're much better.
Doesn't look like it, bud.
But yeah, I do think that in terms of when it comes to losing weight and being healthy, like, you have to do the best that you can in every in your situation. So like, in terms of being healthy, if you know that some things are bad for you, then try to avoid them. But maybe you can't eat all organic. Then just do the best you can eating whole foods. If you know that, as a mom, I'm not necessarily prioritizing being obsessive about counting my macros and calories. Maybe I'll get into, counting my macros, or I'm not really obsessing about, doing these super intense hour-long workouts. But I'm like, I still, in efforts to be disciplined, I'm still, and to help maintain and even lose a little bit of weight, I'm going to do, 15, 20-minute workouts every day and be cognizant of what I'm eating and eat whole foods. So I do think like that is a good point. Like, you have to do what makes sense for you in that situation. And, you know, like this guy, Nick, who's losing weight, like, he's doing the most because he wants to get there super fast. But you don't necessarily have to do the most. Like we said, there's nothing wrong with doing the most inherently.
If you're, I think there is some sense of urgency though that people need, because if you get to a point where you're so big that you can feel like you can't even go on a run, like, you should have that sense of urgency. Like, I need to do something now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, depending on your situation, like for me, I don't have this intense sense of urgency. Like, if I don't, you know, lose 10 pounds right now, then, you know, like for my situation, that doesn't really apply. But for somebody like these people, you know, where you are literally on the trajectory to
death
like
row.
literally dying so soon because of your health, you know, that's different. Anyways.
Every day practicing, you know, doing the right kinds of things. I'm much better now.
I suffered from an eating disorder. I had childhood trauma, and it took me until my adulthood to realize I was pacifying with food, and that's something that was taught to me. And then on the other end of that, with extreme dieting, like I did the HCG protocol, where you eat 500 calories a day and give yourself an injection for months on end. And so I have done the full spectrum.
The 500 calorie diet, was that something with like a medical professional that they recommended?
Yeah.
I mean, how was that? Like,
It was traumatic. It drove me into a spiral. Like, I can relate to what you're saying about like bringing your scale and eating before you went out with your friends, because that was me. It's really, you know.
But if she would have stuck with it, she would have lost the weight. And then once you're at that healthy weight, then you can change it out. You know, you can change. You can say, okay, well, first now I don't need to eat 500 calories. You know, as you go on, like as you get healthier, the more you lose weight, like maybe the first week you eat 500 calories, or the first 2 weeks, and then you do 1,000, and then you go 1,500, and then finally you can do 2,000 because you've gained enough muscle. You know, I'm just throwing it out. I'm not saying this is a diet plan for anyone. I'm just saying that like that it goes back to what I said earlier. Compliance is a science, right? What Stan Efferding says. Compliance is a science. It's like if she would have stuck with it, it probably would have worked.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, if you're eating 500 calories a day.
Because there's been so many studies done on people that are that obese and that don't eat anything for a year, and they are fine as long as they drink water and as long as they're getting electrolytes. As long as they're getting electrolytes and water, they literally just lose all the weight and their body's fine. Like, you can look it up. There's been tons of studies on this, but most people are like, oh no, it's so like I didn't eat for 2 days and it was so
I literally
traumatic.
Had a big breakfast and my stomach is like, put food in me, please.
And it's like a traumatic experience. It's like, not really. I mean, think about back in the day when people didn't have food. What'd they do? They just didn't eat. It's not a big deal, you know, or just don't eat as much.
They
just
had to go hunt.
Yeah, it's like just eat less. Like, it's not. It's really simple, but we make it into this traumatic. Oh, I just was counting my calories every single day. Well, you have to if you're that big. Like, you should.
I definitely think that you can overcomplicate it in your head. Like you just make it like a big thing. Well, I mean, like we were saying, sometimes it should be a big thing. It's depending on how. But like for me, I always like overthought like, oh, I have to work out and I have to blah, and it's like, just work out, like just do it. Like, just don't eat the extra food, like you will be fine. Like it's you know, and we're like, I have
like
to
you
do
usually
it.
eat 2 cookies, eat 1, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot of it
Or
really is
like,
mindset shifting though, into like, I can do this. It's not a big deal. Like, people have been doing this for hundreds of years, like, you know, that type of thinking. Anyways,
taken so much time for me to get to a point to even know what I like to eat. And it took me until like 25, 30 to even realize, okay, I don't actually like eating that. I actually don't like this. I like this. And it's been really healing to like reclaim my relationship with food and to say like, okay, this is what I like and this is what makes me feel really good.
As a fitness,
really, 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 really want people to stop looking at fat people and all of a sudden becoming medical professionals and telling me about high blood pressure and diabetes, because again,
Why
you're
not
not a
though?
medical professional, right?
We can
Like,
see it, bro. We don't need to meet.
Why not? He's like-
We can see it with our own eyes. We don't need medical professional degrees. We just need to have eyes
Common sense.
and common sense to see that it's not healthy. We don't need to be medical professionals.
There's a reason that there is a stigma surrounding obesity and fatness, you know? And they always try to like take people's natural inclinations towards these things and throw them to the ground, like having children. Like, you know, it's natural for a woman to want to be a wife and a mother, and then they're like, no, that's not the natural thing, and she needs to have a career, she needs to be a nurse and a teacher. And it's like, those are the natural inclinations. When you see things that are off and wrong, you know, as humans, but you know, because we are fallen, then we take those and we dilute them, and we try to accept them and normalize them.
let the fat people do the mukbangs too, you know? Like, if you want to do one, that is so cool. But if a fat person wants to do one,
then
let
we're
us
gonna
just
make
do it in
fun of
peace.
you.
You know, that would be my takeaway. Because
So
you never know what we're doing behind the
cringe.
scenes. You don't know how many therapists, how many doctors, dietitians. You have no
That's right,
idea how
or
many
most
things
of
that we've had.
I want to know a little bit more about the beauty standard on, you know, we're in 2021 and it's not like back in the day now. Are we making the right direction? Is that good?
No,
I think it's reactive. It's good. Like,
Yeah.
visibility is important. I've talked about this before earlier. I think that we all deserve to be represented, no matter what we look like,
Yeah.
no matter what
Why?
the status of our health.
No.
We should all see each other, ourselves in the world. So I think, there is progress being made. There are brands that are making sizes that more people can wear. We are seeing body diversity on magazines and things like that. But it's very reactive, and it's very tied into commerce and marketing. So
They want their
is
money.
it real? I don't know.
No, it's not real.
But
No,
it's part of our culture, and it's slowly shifting for whatever reason, like regardless. It will eventually have an impact on society as a whole. So yes
Negatively.
and no.
Is it going to promote people to think it's okay to be overweight?
Here's the thing. People have been fat since people have existed.
They just blurred out the word
I don't
fat.
think
Yeah, I don't know why. I think it might have
that
just
showing us as we are is going to have a negative impact. We are here. We have always been here. You can go to the Louvre and
Why?
see sculptures of fat people. Fat people have always been around.
Being
And
a
where are
fitness
they now?
influencer.
Where are those fat people now? Just
Why?
kidding.
Okay, I think I'll just end that video there. But why is it okay? Like, I just don't get, why do you want to be a part, included in a group like that? Like, why do you feel like you're part of a group? Like,
I need
I
a
am
trophy
part of the
too.
fat community. Like, no. Why do you want to make a community about that? It doesn't make any sense why you would want to do that.
It doesn't make
It's like
sense.
you should say, you know what, I am this way, but I know it's not okay, and maybe I just don't have the willpower to do it. Even like most people I think that are like that, it's like, fine, we all have stuff like that, you know? But to say like, I'm part of this, and we need representation, and we need to uphold these beauty standards and whatever. Oh my goodness. It's all honestly like gives me a headache.
Yeah. I also wanted to say something too on here, that, you know, the times that I have talked about this, I always get people saying things like, well, you know, it's not always gluttony that a woman or anybody is overweight. You know, there's other circumstances like like having children and different things like that, which of course it's normal. It's actually good. Like in the example of having children, you're really supposed to gain weight when you have a baby for multiple reasons. One, you're growing a whole nother human inside of you, a whole nother organ. You have to eat more, blah, 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 blah. And then people say, you know, like thyroid issues. People might be overweight because of thyroid issues. But at the end of the day, it's all about self-discipline and the lifestyle you choose to live and your priorities in life. And I think you would actually be hard-pressed to find anybody really that could not lose weight. Like, there's just no way at all. And I was really inspired by a few different things. One, there's this lady on Instagram, and she shows a picture of her mom, and she's this, pretty lady, and she had 11 kids, and she looked like one of the daughters, like so young and, so, fit and healthy. And she's like, there was never a day, 11 kids, by the way, 11 kids. I saw my mother working out every single day. She had self-discipline to work out every single day. She was not going to let herself go. And I'm like, that's inspiring. But instead, what we do is we're like, oh, well, I had 11 kids, so this is why I'm obese. Or, oh, I have depression, so this is why I'm just going to binge eat. And really, at the end of the day, that's part of the problem with these movements.
It's also judgmental that people think that, oh, well, I had this, and you never struggled with depression, or so you don't know that. Yeah. You don't know if they went through something really hard, having 11 kids and working out every morning. Yeah. That you don't know if they were depressed and still chose to work out. You know what I mean? You don't know if they had really bad, a health issue and they still chose to work out.
Oh, it's just genetics. Well, genetics can definitely make it a lot harder for different people. But genetics are not the end all be all.
Well, if you have your identity in Christ, you're a new creation, and yes, genetically, biologically, you may be more predisposed to some things, but you can still decide and say, I am not that person. This is my and my limit is here.
Yeah.
And as the person that I am today, I'm a healthy person, a person that eats healthily, a person that other people may think I'm crazy. Because I noticed someone commented about how they have celiac and how they have to do that too to bring their food, and she doesn't do it because sometimes people are like, oh, like you're so weird or whatever. And she's like, I'm just gonna have to start doing it. I'm like, yeah, do it. Like people, if you do that, people are like, oh my gosh, like you're so weird. And like, what? Who cares?
They
like, yeah, I'm weird, but I would much rather be weird and take care of my health than be just like everyone else and suffer from whatever health or be fat or whatever.
And you never know who's watching you too. You could really be the person that God uses to help inspire somebody else to change. Like that Instagram post. When I saw that, I was like, that is so inspiring. This lady gave birth 11 times and she did not let herself go. Also, the other example was of Lori Alexander, who I know, a lot of people have beef with, but we love her over here. And she was talking about how she has every excuse in the book to be overweight. Her thyroid is basically shot. It doesn't work. And when you don't have a working thyroid, you usually have trouble maintaining your weight. And she has all these, health issues, but she has enough self-discipline to be able to gauge, okay, I've eaten too much and my weight is starting to creep up. Okay, I'm going to just, the next few days I'm going to cut back on the sourdough, or I'm going to eat a few less calories. And she's just like, oh, I'm gaining weight a little bit. I'm going to cut back, And it's just so inspiring to see like how simple. I'm just going to cut back. It's not a big deal. And I'm going to maintain my weight. And I think that's such a godly characteristic to have, that level of restraint and to be able to say, I'm not going to let myself get to an unhealthy point. And we can all do that. Like we all have that within us because we all have the Holy Spirit within us. Like we all have the ability to not be gluttonous and to not let food rule over us and to not let, all these things that are contributing to our obesity and our overweightedness and our unhealthy lives. Like we all have the capacity to change that and to stop on a dime. And that's what is the Holy Spirit not within us to give us self-control? That's a fruit of the Spirit. And so we don't accept these fat acceptance movements and these body positivity movements that say everything and everybody is okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. Let people live their lives. No, we're not just sitting here saying, you just live your life. No, you don't just sit there and live your life. We want to encourage you towards good works and to live lives that glorify God and that glorify Christ. So sorry, not sorry, but I'll probably talk a little bit more about this topic on my Instagram, and Andre's going to talk about it too, because we want to help people see the truth, and it's being so diluted. It's everywhere. Anyways.
So true. So true. So there's a couple questions here. I didn't see any questions on the chat on YouTube, so I'm just going to go to we just have a couple on Instagram. We didn't have much time.
There's a lot in the chat. I want to read that later.
So it says, handling changes in your body after pregnancy. So maybe you can talk about that. Actually, both
you don't
these.
have anything to say about that? I'm just
kidding. Maybe.
Well, yeah, you probably will. But I think one mindset that I always think is weird, and people are going to come at me for this, whatever, is when they're like, your body did so much and your body did this for you and you should love your body. I'm like, that's just such a weird mindset to me, to like look at my body almost like I guess it's like that, looking at my body like it's a third person, like in third person, and like, I love you because XYZ. Now, inevitably, your body is going to change one way or another during pregnancy. And I think you just have to be willing to accept that. And you also have to be willing to be honest with yourself and do the things that you need to do to not let yourself go. And you also really need to be taking care of your health. That's so important for yourself and for your baby that you're taking care of. And it can definitely be hard and be weird to see your body change. But you don't need to feel any certain way towards your stretch marks or your curves or your flab. Like, you don't need to give them kisses and tell them they're perfect. You don't need to do all that.
Yeah.
You can accept that it's there and that, maybe some of it's not going to go away, some of the stretch marks, some of the cellulite, but you can also say, what can I do about this? Is there actually something that I can do about this? Is this worth obsessing over? If there's something you can do about it, then work towards doing something about it. If not, then realize it's okay. Like, yeah, your breasts are just going to be flabby. Like, can you do something about that? Should you do something about that? If the answer is no, then, just say thank you, God, for
these breasts.
No, but thank you. I don't think there's anything wrong with being I'm grateful that I can breastfeed, but just the whole, I love my
worshiping your body, basically.
I feel beautiful and so beautiful because I now have a ton of cellulite. It's that's just weird. I feel like that's just a cop out.
Cope.
You don't a cope. You don't have to tell yourself that. Just be normal about it and just say thank you. Just be normal about it.
Yeah, and honestly, for the vast majority of husbands too, they don't care.
They don't.
What women are like, what if my husband doesn't love me? Or even the other way, but my husband loves these. Or he would love you with them or without them. It doesn't really matter that much.
I mean, the only exception I would say is if you get to a point that your husband did not want you to get to, Andre has told me I don't want you to get fat, and it's I don't want me to get fat either. So there's that added level of accountability of knowing that Andre does not want me to let myself go in that way. So yeah.
True. So true. And that's what's most attractive.
But he doesn't care that
people
I
are gonna
gained weight or whatever.
But people are going to be coming at me for that. The fact that I would tell you so you can't be doing that because you're going to get fat. So you need to do something now before you do. And then people are like, how could he say that to her? Because I'm being honest. Y'all don't want husbands to be honest with their wives.
Listen,
I'm not telling you you so ugly. No, I'm just saying don't get fat.
Trust me, Andre is very, very attracted to me. Ask me how I know. No, but yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say something, but I forgot.
Another question. This is a really interesting one, and it's for you. So I want to know how you would navigate this one.
Interesting.
It says overweight mothers 40 plus. Your mom is an example. What is your opinion?
Your mom.
What is your opinion about her weight?
Oh, well, I'll do the whole referencing this with I love my mother. She's an amazing woman. I do think that she lacks self-discipline. And mother, if you're listening to this, I'm saying this from the heart because I love you oh so much. It is really a lack of self-discipline. I can't tell you, how many diets I've, saw her going through and how, taste makes waste, as my dad always says. And Andre tells me that. And now I'm like trying, I got that habit of just tasting. And I'm really, really trying to have self-discipline and not do that. And that's something that I got from her. And, I would just encourage her to and anybody in that category to stop buying the junk, stop tasting your kids' foods off their plates, because any mother that is in that same category, I know you're tasting the food, little Tommy, oh, he didn't eat all his hamburger, I'm just gonna eat this so it doesn't go to waste. Like, don't eat Tommy's hamburger. Yeah, you don't need Tommy's hamburger. And really, I think there needs to be some reflection on what example you're setting for your children. Obviously in my mom's case, like my dad, like Andre was saying, like my dad doesn't care. Like he didn't have those standards that Andre has of like, do not get the XYZ weight. He still loves her anyway. So that's not the problem.
And this is a perfect time to interject this. Someone commented, but I thought your husband was supposed to love you regardless. Crying, laughing face, crying, laughing face. Of course, like
he will still love me, but
I would love you, but
has that preference.
Once you get to near 200, I won't love you anymore.
He has that preference.
No, I'm just kidding. You didn't even hear.
Oh, I did. Sorry.
No, but that's the thing is like you are supposed to say, hey, listen, don't do this, right? Like especially as a leader, someone commented, you're supposed to encourage and you say, hey, this is we're not going past this. Like let's work back to getting to a healthy weight because it's
accountability.
It's also
too.
unhealthy. You know what I'm saying? And like Soli has told me before when I gained a little more weight, I think I gained like 10 pounds plus 10 pounds more than I was supposed
want
to.
her to get fat.
And Soli was like, ooh, belly. Just those little things like, ooh, belly. I'm like, all right, well, that means I gotta walk more. I gotta work out more. Gotta eat less crap, and
listen, Andre is married to me for life. Okay. So 1, that doesn't mean he has to love me for life. But 2, that means I'm literally the only woman that he gets to, be attracted to and be intimate with. And so, I'm the only one. So if he says he's attracted to XYZ thing, I want to do those things. I want him to be attracted to me. Like, if anybody says they don't want their husband to be attracted to them, like that's just weird. And so obviously if I became obese, he would still love me, but I don't think he would be attracted to me in the same way. Now, some men, like I was saying earlier, like they might not care as much, but it's still,
but they also don't have, that's something I mentioned the other day. Like some of the men, they also don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't love their wives if they get fat. No, but I'm saying like, of course, if they got really obese and that's their wife, what other choice do they have? It's not like they're gonna be like, oh, you know what? I don't love you anymore. It's like, well, you're my wife.
Some men
but
might,
but at the same time, you have to. That's why you got to keep accountability, and you have to care, actually care as a woman what your body looks like for your husband, and as a man, the same thing. Like you have to actually care. Right? Because if I get really big and Sully is like, you know what I'm saying? Like that should affect me to say, you know what? Not just for my wife, but for myself and for, as I said, for my children, an example. As a Christian, an example. Like I want to at least be healthy, right? And weight is a big part of that.
Yeah, and like going back to the whole like 40 plus and being an obese mother, like think about the example that you're setting for your children and really, like if I was sitting down talking to any mother 40 plus, I would just say like, you can do it. And you have the Holy Spirit within you. He can give you the self-control. He can give you the strength. He can give you the discipline that you need to get out there and lose the weight. You can do it. You have everything, literally everything you need. All you have to do is just do it and say no. No dessert.
See?
No junk. No extra calories.
We're getting some good comments on here. Charlene says, skinny does not equal healthy. When I was at my skinniest, I was at my unhealthiest. There's such a thing as different body types, and healthy weight doesn't always mean under 200, and being over it doesn't mean unhealthy. Okay, so there's several different arguments there. Skinny doesn't always equal healthy. We agree.
Yeah.
When I was at my skinniest, I was on my unhealthiest. You can be unhealthy, same thing. There's such a thing as different body types, and healthy. Okay, that's another thing. Healthy weight doesn't always mean under 200. Okay, for the vast majority of people, it does. If you are a 6'6" male, maybe you can be over 200. For the vast majority of people, they are overweight. We're talking about the American population here. The American population here is not just overweight. Almost 50% of the American population is obese. Okay? So that's why we're talking about this, because the stats back us up. And then she also said you can have healthy standards if you want, but you can't just say that someone who is over a certain weight is unhealthy. If you are over, if you look at your BMI scale, most likely, if you look at your body fat percentage, if you just literally do a calculator for your height, for your sex, for your weight, where you fall on that line, you can determine whether or not that is healthy for you. That may not be the only factor in health, but you can determine whether or not your weight is healthy for your height and sex. It's that simple. And that's why we want to talk about it, because people will say, well, everyone has different body types. Whatever. Yeah. Well, if you can be skinny and still be unhealthy, yeah, we agree. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about weight. Anyways, we need to end. Our babies are calling for mommy, so
all right,
we gotta
that was
go.
really good.
Thank
that
you
was a lot of fun.
so much for all of this. We are so happy to be doing this, and we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.